Our top focus on WION Fineprint today. China's COVID woes are far from over. Despite its stringent zero-COVID policy, the South Asian nation continues to battle the latest surge in infections. And now adding more to the trouble is Zhangzhou's situation. Take a look at these visuals now. Vandalism. You'll also see clashes with authorities. Utter mayhem on the streets as protesters hurl barricades. And employees trying to escape the facility. These are the visuals from the Zhangzhou Foxconn facility where angry workers were reportedly protesting over authorities' actions. This after the major iPhone maker factory was hit by COVID-19. The protesters now say that they were forced to share dormitories with colleagues who had tested positive for COVID-19, while reports of Foxconn intending to delay the bonus payments added fuel to the fire. You see the already frustrated workers hassled by COVID woes resorted to smashing surveillance cameras and windows of the factory, a factory that employed some 200,000 people. These visuals of unrest are all over social media. China's COVID situation seems to be getting worse, preventing the country from stamping out the virus and relaxing controls. On Wednesday, China's COVID-19 cases broke a record that was set earlier on April 13th, with more than 31,000 cases. Last time, with such high number of cases, the commercial hub of Shanghai was crippled by a citywide lockdown. This time, it is the Chinese capital Beijing which has returned to a lockdown. The recent COVID cases have gripped more than 20 of China's 31 province-level regions. In adherence to its zero-COVID policy, Chinese authorities have announced requirements for more frequent virus testing and more stringent curbs. China has expressed its concerns over the country's already strained healthcare system and its ability to handle a surge in COVID infections. Economists suggest that China's strict COVID curbs are fueling frustration and darkening the outlook for the world's second-largest economy. The brokerage, Nomura, has revised China's GDP forecast for the fourth quarter to 2.4% year-on-year, over 2.8%. The full-year growth has also been cut from 2.9% to 2.8%, and China's target was to grow by 5.5% this year. According to a Japanese bank, more than one-fifth of China's population was subject to some kind of control when it comes to restrictions. According to economists, China may have surpassed the point of no return to zero COVID without a Shanghai-style lockdown. Furthermore, investors were hoping that China would soon relax its strict COVID policy. However, Chinese officials dispelled all rumors, affirming that the current zero COVID policy is here to stay. Acknowledging the pressure on the economy, the cabinet said that China would use timely cuts in the bank cash reserves and other monetary policy tools to ensure sufficient liquidity. Now, to understand what's happening in China, its impact on the economy and the world at large, we are now being joined by Uido Kotzi, who is a professor of macroeconomics at the University of St. Gallen from Switzerland. Thanks for joining us, Professor.
Thank you.
China's zero-COVID policy is failing. Clearly, it has impacted global markets already. How bad is the impact on the Chinese economy?
Well, you already mentioned the GDP, because if people cannot go to work, if firms cannot operate normally, they cannot produce enough. So GDP growth in an otherwise strong economy has declined to levels that are common in advanced countries, in mature economies. But the point is that this decline in growth is expected to remain. And in fact, it's not just they are producing less, they're also consuming less, and demand dropped. Importantly, the inflation rate has been dropping until 2.1% And if we move from the consumer price inflation to the producer price inflation, the last month compared to the previous year, it declined to minus 1.3%. Just for your knowledge, a year ago it was close to 10%.
Right. So just, looking beyond the numbers, there are two things that you've mentioned which are very important. Given the fact that we consider China to be the manufacturing hub of the world, an artery of sorts, you're saying not only is it producing less, it's also consuming less. That shows that the residents are frustrated. We've seen reports of billionaires moving money out of China. The Foxconn protests are an example. So what is Xi Jinping's plan to tackle all this?
Unfortunately, Xi Jinping is continuing his policy. We all hoped that after securing the third presidential mandate in October, he would release the zero-COVID policy and risk a little more. Instead, this hasn't happened. Things are going always in the same way, and this clarifies that in a non-democracy like China, people have no way to force the government changing policies, and his policy is particularly penalizing the young and the families, and quite strangely, he's not vaccinating enough old people. So I think the majority of the young people and the young workers and consumers are feeling that the contract, the implicit contract, high growth and high standards of living in exchange for no political freedom has been dropped.
Right. So if zero COVID continues, the surge in cases continues, it will have an impact on global market. There are already fears of a recession looming heading into the next year. So what are your predictions?
Well, viewed from the outside, the predictions will be contradictory, because on the one side, it's true that we will have less components and less reliability from China. On the other side, the demand from China is not strong, which may help inflation going down abroad. Also, for other countries that will replace China as a favorite destination on foreign direct investment, like India, for example, the effects could even be promising in the longer term.
Right. Thank you so much for speaking to us on WION Fineprint at this hour. Thanks for joining us.
You're welcome.
WION World is now available in your country. Download the app now and get all the news updates on the move.